Because you were doing such a good job that you were catching people out. I'm just trying to understand, why would someone target you?
Yeah, like the fact of the matter is that politically, I was far much more qualitatively superior to all the people that I found in the leadership of Umkhonto weSizwe. I added much more better value. I understood what is to be done with the new organization. I have practical experience on founding an organization. Not even President Zuma had founded an organization before. I founded an organization before which got to be represented in more than 230 municipalities in South Africa, was represented in all the provincial legislatures, and had huge impact in South Africa's national parliament and national council of provinces.
I mean the EFF?
Yes, yes. So that experience would obviously place me at a far much more qualitative, better value in terms of contributions.
So were they intimidated by you, do you, I wonder?
That is part of that. There was some degree of paranoia and some people who thought that they are political heavyweights there felt dwarfed by our contributions, because some of the things that were misguiding President Zuma on, we would be able to counter much more decisively and then give proper, legitimate direction as to how the organization should be run.
President of the MK party, Jacob Zuma, ever come to you and ask you directly if you are trying to overthrow him? Why was he listening to other people, not you? Who advised President Zuma of the MK party?
No, there's never been a time where he directly came to me to say that I am going to overthrow him. But the report which was presented in the officials, which the meeting of officials that took that decision, that report came with him, and it was given to him by the people I refer to as scoundrels.
Do you know who they are, by the way? I'm just curious.
It's different people there. That includes an imbecile, a fool called Ahlamula Ndlela, one of the foolish leaders of Umkhonto weSizwe, who unfortunately represents the people there. He's always on drugs and always high on alcohol in terms of how he deals with issues. That is what we're dealing with every day. And he will even take pride that he is going to tell lies to President Zuma about him. And of course, he will use the otherwise very gullible and directionless daughter of President Zuma, who of course has got first front row access to President Zuma by virtue of being the daughter. So that is basically what we're dealing with. And of course, Ahlamula was working with this.
Didn't you call her a druggie on social media?
I didn't say that. I didn't say she's a druggie. I said there are people who take drugs, which is true, and insult me on social media at night, and which is a fact in terms of what happens. Look, I don't want to deal with those issues. If anyone wants to challenge me about that, they can ask me privately as to who takes drugs and insult me at night. I'll tell them. But I don't want to speak about that in public now.
So now, are you still a member of the MK party? I think some people are wondering, where are you? You feel like you got 1 foot out, 1 foot in. What are you right now as we sit here?
I am a member of Umkhonto weSizwe, but I am leading a process now as the national convener of the national consultation team, which is going to speak to the people of South Africa on whether we should establish a political party, and if we do so, what should be the nature and character of that political party, and how that political party should be funded in terms of what happens moving forward. Because
someone's going to pay for it, yeah.
Because we believe that, like, there are people who believe, and I believe as well, that the current political parties are not adequate instruments to represent majority of South Africans in terms of the politics of true emancipation and true liberation. Majority of the political parties are just associations of self-seeking individuals, or cults, or family-run businesses who are about utilizing money for their own benefits and not for the benefit of the whole society. Didn't you call
the EFF a cult as well? Now that you mentioned the word, you called the EFF a cult.
Yes, I did explain that the EFF's internal democratic system qualify it to be a cult, because even when there is qualitatively superior alternatives and views that are presented in terms of how the organization should be run, one person decides its direction, its character, its content, and is the only person who speaks in all the major platforms of the organization. I mean, I was in the EFF for 11 years.
11 years, yeah.
There were thousands of press conferences there. Even when I was the one who had qualitatively better explanations of some of the questions that would be asked there. A person will try to answer those questions because he wants to be the only one that speaks.
Do you mean Julius Malema?
Yes. Even if they were to ask about things that he has got no comprehension of, but would insist to be the only one that speaks. The only time that I will speak in a press conference is when maybe a journalist had asked if I'm contesting him, that I must say in front of the journalist.
So were you advising Mr. Malema when you were there? He was just parroting what you were saying.
That was not the case. For bigger part of the life of the EFF, we gave the ideological character, but the operational model of the EFF, it's way too centralized, could become a true representative of the people. And that explains why the EFF in mass never got to attract quality leadership at local level, at provincial level, even at national level. If we go and check the composition of the caucuses of the EFF in Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni, it's difficult to find a quality leader who can provide leadership to government there. That is why whenever there were responsibilities of government, we had to go and fetch people from outside to go and play roles, because majority, if not all of those who were deployed there, did not have any clue as to what happens with government, despite the fact that they had played a role for such a long time.
So you've painted the picture of the EFF, and I'm sure if you and I spend more time together, we can get into more details of leadership of the EFF and MKP. The reason I'm asking is you're going to go into this consultative process. You want something different, you say. Is that because the EFF and MK party weren't good at what they do and you can do a better job?
It's not predetermined outcome. If it was predetermined outcome, if I had resolved now as to whether we must form a political party, we should have announced the political party, its leadership, its colors, its logo, its presence everywhere, and
why is that
capacity.
Important?
No, it's important that you should consult the people of South Africa. A political party must not be a personal project, must not be an individual's project. It must not be a group of friends who just agree amongst themselves that they're going to start a political party.
Is that
and
then
they do so? So that is so it's not a predetermined process. If I had predetermined the process, we could have announced long time ago in terms of what happens, because the number of people who came to say we must start a political party is adequate to could constitute leadership structures in all the 257 sub-regions of South Africa, is adequate enough to could constitute solid and reliable, quality, skilled leadership in all the 54 regions and in all the provinces. The quality of people that have come closer to say, let us start an alternative, is adequate enough to could constitute a movement that is qualitatively superior and better placed than the MK and EFF and the ANC.
I take your point, Mr. Shivambu. I do.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, you're promising an alternative, a consultation process. You say the numbers, the people have come to you. There will be those, you've seen this, you're active on social media, there will be those who say, but hang on, Floyd Shivambu, he was at EFF for 11 years, now he's saying it was a cult. Was it a cult before you left? Let me finish. There was a cult before you left or after you left? Because you'll have those lessons. So was it a cult before or after?
You know, a better appreciation of knowing what a cult is can only come from a person who was inside the cult.
That was you?
Knowing. Yes, and that is me.
So you were inside?
And I was in all decision-making structures of EFF, and I know how decisions are taken, and I know that in several instances, a lot of things which EFF will do and engage in or even the approaches that would be taken sometimes was not a direct result of democratic consultation. It was just the feelings of one individual as to how certain things must be handled. And that is not a sustainable culture for any organizations, because organizations must take decisions after thorough democratic consultation. And once those decisions have been taken, they must always be binding on everyone else.
So why did Julius Malema never listen to you? Because you clearly say there were problems. Did he not listen to you? Or?
Okay, that's fine. We can talk about EFF for
I just want to get a background.
No. I asked you a question and arrived here.
Yes.
Of what are we going to talk about?
And we are talking about your plans going forward.
Yeah, let's talk about my plans going forward.
Okay, but with the context of what you've learned, and then we go. Okay, last lesson from the EFF and what you're going to change.
Let's deal with the process of my way, which we're dealing with now.
Okay.
Which
as
is
you answer
the process.
That, forgive me, Mr. Shivambu, as you answer that.
No, let's deal with the process that we're dealing with.
And then what you're going to do going forward.
Let's deal with the process of my way that we're here for.
But you've learned lessons.
So what we're here for is to talk about the process of consultations, and what we have done thus far is to invite volunteers from different sectors of society. We issued the form through social media.
How many numbers?
And thousands of people. I don't know the latest numbers now, but I know that the numbers in the new form, the platform which they sent me in the morning today, there was the first form which was crashed was upward of 10,000.
10,000, wow.
10,000, and then the other ones that they sent me this morning was at 4,600.
So 14,000.
So those are the people who are volunteering to form part of this process. I have not checked since morning as to how many other people have come into the process of consulting.
How many do you need to form this?
By the way, I was anticipating 2,000 people.
Why so low?
It's enough